Come, Holy Spirit, come. May the words of my lips and the meditations of our hearts be always acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. Hope you picked up one of these on the way in. If you didn't, raise your hand, and Catherine will hand you one. If you got one yesterday and just didn't bring it back, when you're done with the sermon today, leave it out there so the next group can get it. As is the custom, some years, not all years, but many years, is today's kind of the state of the parish address. And I want to do that, but I also want to preach a little. So hopefully it won't go too long. But I want us to think about the gospel and the fact that Jesus calls us into service. He doesn't call us just to worship him, although that's an important piece. He calls us to actively participate in the spreading of his kingdom and caring for his people. Those are really the two main foci of the church, is caring for others, as it says in Matthew 25, when did you care for me? When I was hungry and you gave me no drink, I was a stranger. When you did it for the least of them, you did it for me. So reaching out, caring for others, and we do that really well when we do it corporately. It's not that we can't do it individually, but when we combine our efforts in the church, our outreach commission, we're able to reach more people and I think do more good. Likewise, as the larger church with Episcopal Relief and Development, we're able to support people all over the globe who are in need, mostly due to national disasters. The other thing that Jesus asks us to do, the very end of the gospel, I'm going to give away the end. I mean, this is year A. We'll go all the way through the Gospel of Matthew, but I'm going to give it away. Jesus says, all authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Go, therefore, and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all that I have commanded you. Go, make, baptize, teach. 4 very important verbs for his church and for us to remember what our mission is. And that is to reach out beyond the walls of the church to those who do not know Jesus Christ. Or maybe know him a little bit, but not that well. And at the same time, to continue to teach the people that are already here and help mentor them into a deeper relationship with Jesus. So, as far as the church goes, yesterday was the annual meeting. It went really, really well. We had elected 4 people to the vestry, 3 people to diocesan convention, and we recognized Roger Mills and Jackie Winder with the Ed Brown Award for exemplary service throughout the years. So Roger is here, and I want you to smile and give him a hand. And check out his name on the plaque out there in the parish hall underneath last year's winners, Don Van Gelder and Don Fisher. The senior warden was named, not surprisingly. I tend to ride the horse till it throws me, so Don Fisher will be your senior warden for 2020. And if you're surprised about that, then you don't know what's going on here at all. So, how is the parish doing? Well, let's look at a couple places. First, we had over 50 new members last year. That was great. I was really happy about that. But we only had 6 baptisms. And the mark of a church that is going out into the world and doing what that says, there's got to be a few more baptisms, and we only had 1 adult baptism. I'd like to see that tenfold. If we're doing our job, we're reaching into places where people don't know Jesus. It's easy to collect retirees from the north because we are the only Episcopal church in South Shore. So if they want to stay in the Episcopal church, we're it. But that's not really going into the world and making disciples. That's helping disciples relocate. But that's not the mission of the church. So while we saw a lot of new people, and in some cases, people who all of a sudden became aware of a deeper level of Christianity that they'd experienced before, we still need to do more to reach out. Of the people that are here, however, things seem to go pretty well. I'm going to turn to page, if you have it, as soon as I figure out what page I'm on, 18. And you'll notice that this year over last year we had a total of 108 estimate of giving cards. Now, the word pledge is in there. We changed the word pledge to estimate of giving because whatever it is, it's an estimate of giving. It's not like if you don't pay it, we're going to come after you. If your situations change, whatever, but the vestor really depends on a rough idea of what they can expect in terms of revenue from the congregation to help set the budget. So we asked people to do that, and whereas last year we had 108, this year we have 130. Last year those totaled to $342,000. This year, $363,500. So the response is good. Where your heart is, there also is your pocketbook. I think that's the rough translation of that passage. And so people their hearts are here. And we appreciate the support. We had 11 brand new pledges last year, estimate of giving cards. And that was also very heartening. So most people increased. You see the decrease. These numbers represent not just giving to the general fund, but also to the building fund. So a lot of people completed their 3-year annex pledge. So their number went down, but they did not reduce what they were giving to the general fund. So that was a good thing. Our debt continues to go down, whereas almost 5 years ago today, we were paying off $1.3 million at over close to 6% interest. That mortgage on this place is cut in half, and we're only paying 3.85. We have 2 loans from the diocese totaling $200,000. One is at 3%, one is at 0%. And that was for the building of the annex. So financially, we're in much better shape. Under the guidance of the finance team, our endowment ministry fund continues to grow, and we're able every year to take 4% of the total and put that to work in this parish and beyond. We split that between parish needs and outreach needs. So that is how that happens. Other things I want to talk about just briefly, of course, is the biggest change, and we had a full-blown report last night on the media presentations. And I will summarize by saying this: sharing is caring. If you view something from this church, share it on your Facebook page. Share it. If you look at it on YouTube, there's a box there. It says subscribe. Click the box. What that does for us is it raises our likelihood of being just thrown onto other people's feeds throughout. And I know many of you have no idea what I'm talking about, but that's okay. One of the ways that, and probably the most inexpensive way to get our name out there, is through social media. And especially as we try to penetrate the surrounding communities around Sun City Center and reach out for non-seniors as well as seniors, that will help us as much as possible. So if you know what I just said, great. If you don't, that's okay. One of our hopes of the media ministry is that we will also be able to reach seniors where they are. By this time next year, I hope to have a Sunday morning feed at Freedom Plaza so that people can come down, participate with us live in the service, and when we're taking communion, we'll have Eucharistic visitors there to offer them communion, or even a priest to bless and offer communion. But either way, that people who can't physically get here can still participate. We had a lot of people have talked to me about how nice it was when they were in the hospital or recovering, that they were able to watch the services live online. If you haven't looked at our new website, if you haven't looked at some of that stuff, please do take a look. But that was one of the, and there is a more complete report in the annual report about that. We talked about where we are on our current 5-year plan, and we are right in the middle. First 3 out of 5 boxes have been checked off. We've gotten everything moved over into the annex. We've remodeled the classrooms, added the nursery. We've hired a family life minister, a full-time priest, and now we're in that difficult stage of growing from a transitional-sized church to a program-sized church. This problem is exacerbated by the fact that most people who join us new come from much smaller churches. Most Episcopal churches run 80% run under 100 people on a Sunday, and 90% run under 150 on a Sunday. So we are, at our current size, in the top 7% largest Episcopal churches in the country. Unfortunately, this size is a difficult size because you have the expectations of a larger church and the budget of a smaller one. So the demand outstrips the needs, and until you can get up to about an average of 250 on Sunday is when things level out. Right now, we're running about, for 2019, we're at 207. We're already, I think, tracking better than that this year. We had, with the hire of Father David, things moving ahead. So we look forward to that transition. It will be hard, and everybody will have to deal with a little bit of change. And you all have done great dealing with your change and going from 8 to 7:45. And I know that was hard for you. It was really hard for me. I don't like mornings. But we did it, and it's working, and it has made all the difference in that middle service. So your sacrifice, your willingness to change, and one of the things I always tell my early service people is I will make as little change as possible for you because it is a hallowed tradition in the Episcopal Church that the early service never changes. We did move from the 1928 prayer book to Rite 1. We made that change. Y'all did okay with that. But, baby steps. The new prayer book that's 40 years old. I don't know anything that's 40 years old that is new, but has finally been, I think, roundly accepted. So, but I will keep the changes as minimal as possible for this particular crowd. And we will still do the right one, and it'll be fine. All right. The other concern, of course, is as you get bigger, what happened in the church in Corinth that Paul was talking about in today's lesson was that there began to be factions, disagreements, people taking sides. Now, I don't see that happening here because of the excellent vestry and other leaders and staff that we have here. But what I worry more about is some people getting lost in the shuffle. In a small church, when you only have 50 people on a Sunday, it's easy to recognize if somebody's missing. And in a larger church, and especially a church that features so many associate members, aka snowbirds, and people who have retired and travel a lot, people can wander off and not be missed. So here's the other piece that you need to take responsibility for. You must be part of something in this church where people will notice if you're not there. A small group, a Bible study, a ministry team, the altar guild, the choir, any kind of number of things. Be an usher, be a lector, be somewhere where if you're not here, we'll notice. And also, it's nice to be part of a group that's still small enough that everybody knows your name. Now, we are St. John Divine Episcopal Church, but I kind of also AKA Cheers. Remember that show? Yeah, it's the local tavern where everybody knows your name. So be part of something where everybody knows your name. And then finally, especially those of you that are already in leadership, make room, mentor somebody, bring somebody along. It is an exciting day when someone finds something to do at the church that they enjoy. When that happens, they become more interested in the overall scheme of things, the success of the church. They're more likely to turn in an estimate of giving card. They're more likely to commit to being part of what we're trying to do, which is, again, spread God's kingdom here on earth. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. We're trying to do His will here on earth so that his kingdom in heaven might be spread. And we're doing it because we know something that's the most important of all. At the end of the gospel, when Jesus says, do all these things, go, make disciples, baptize, teach, he says this, and remember, I am with you always to the close of the age. This church is blessed by the presence of God's Spirit. You can feel it if you're sensitive to that kind of thing when you come in the door. The Spirit of the Lord is upon us, and the Spirit of the Lord will enable us to do the things God is calling us to do. I want to close by saying thank you to all of you for your ministry, and in particular to my staff, both paid and unpaid, and to the other clergy who share this with me. Father Lee, it was not just an accident last night that he was sitting at my right hand. And as we found out, Father Lee is the most popular media personality we have, with 8 of the top 10 views on the media. Yeah, I'll just have to try harder. Father David is a welcome addition. And although young, he carries an old man's heart, for his love of the Lord is very deep. Father Harry, retired, still helps us in many ways, filling holes that can't be filled by anyone else. And finally, our deacon Paulette has now retired and taken a seat out there in the pews with you, mostly for just medical reasons. And she may come back, she may continue where she is, but all of them have been a tremendous support to me, and thereby, in many ways, a support to people in the parish that maybe don't connect with me, that connect with one of them. So it's good to have a team, and we are blessed to have the team we have. Our new hires this year, especially in the office, is Connie Minnow, who's doing the CFO duties, and she is delightful. And if you have any need or concern, please call her. Candy continues to be a source of light and joy at that front window when you come in, and has helped coordinate all the events and helping coordinate volunteers as well. I already talked about the remarkable growth of the media. That's due to Tristan and his hard work up there. He's assisted by Tommy Blair, the staff member that nobody knows. Tommy, stand up. So if you see a really tall guy, there he is, yeah. You can give those guys a hand. Thank you. They're great. We have made a decision to go back to having a sexton rather than a cleaning service. And his last name is Patino. His first name is Anthony. I knew it started with an A, but I knew it wasn't Andrew. Anthony Patino, and he will start February 1st. He also is a person of great cheer and friendliness, and you will like him immensely. So the staff is coming together. It's a dream staff from my point of view, and the things that we have ahead of us that we're trying to do, I believe, will be achieved. So thank you. This is longer than usual. I'll sit down. Well, no, I'll stand over here. I do want to say, is there any questions, which I don't usually do after a talk, but is there anything that somebody's confused about or needs more information on? Okay. Thank you.